Have you ever made a big decision that involved somebody else, like getting married? How important those decisions are and how important it is to have visible accountability. We'll talk about what that means on today's episode.
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hey friends, welcome back to today's episode of Everyday Truth. In Genesis chapter 31, we are with Jacob on the run. He's been trying to get out of town and Laban has caught up to him. Remember though, God has appeared in a dream to Laban and told him, you better not mess with my plan and with my man. And even though Jacob doesn't necessarily deserve God's protection, God is protecting him because God made a promise, that great covenantal promise to Abraham, that he would bless his seed and bring about a nation, eventually bring a Messiah, a Savior. And all of this is part of God's grand redemptive plan. And here in verse number 43, we have the conversation between Laban and Jacob. And Laban says in verse 43, Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children. These cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? So you see the frustration of Laban. So from a human standpoint, Laban is taking umbrage. You have cheated me. You are running away with everything that is rightfully mine. I'm the leader of this clan. This is my family. These are my kids, my grandkids. And you're just dodging and getting out of town and I'm being left with nothing. Now, that's not technically true, not by our Western standards, but understand in the Eastern mindset, a patriarchal mindset, Laban is saying this is just not the way it's supposed to be, except for the fact that God had said that this would happen and God had told Laban what he was doing. So Laban, on the one hand, is expressing his umbrage for the culture of the day, but watch what Laban says in verse number 44, because this demonstrates that Laban has heard from God and that Laban does have a respect for, at least a fear for Almighty God. Because it says in verse 44, now therefore come thou and let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. So Laban, on the one hand, says, what are you doing? This belongs to me, almost with the implication you're not going anywhere. But now in verse 44, you see a conciliatory tone, the word covenant, an agreement. Okay, let's talk about this. And ultimately, what Laban is going to do is to accept what God is doing, to accept that Jacob is going to be going to his homeland and that Laban will not be following, to accept that God is doing something that Laban doesn't understand. And sometimes that's what happens in our own life, where we, according to human standards, feel as if, well, I'm owed this or I'm entitled to. What is it right now in your life where you feel a sense of entitlement? Like, I don't deserve this, or this is something that I should get, or this is only fair. Be careful about that language because God often deals in ways that offend our human sensibilities or our human sense of fairness. So here Laban clearly has heard from God. He has the upper hand physically. I mean, if he wanted to, he could overtake Jacob. He's got the might on his side. And yet God has given this warning. And Laban now says, let's make a covenant. Let's make an agreement. Let's form a non-aggression pact. See at verse number 45. And Jacob took a stone. So the agreement, the covenant was suggested by Laban, but Jacob in agreement, reaches for a stone, probably a big like memorial type stone, and set it up for a pillar. So often in Bible days, in those days, when an agreement was made, there would be a memorial set up to, memorialize to mark that agreement. So what Jacob does here is he gives a physical representation of the fact that he is agreeing with Laban's posture. He's agreeing with Laban's suggestion that a covenant be made, an agreement between them, that there be no hostility. So in a sense, Jacob running out of town without telling anybody is really a vestige of Jacob's old deceptiveness and fear. And the fact that Laban is taking umbrage about feeling cheated, they're both learning something, aren't they? They're both cheaters. They both have failed in this relationship, and yet God has spoken to both of them. And now is the time for them to make things right. And so they're going to make this agreement. And it says in verse number 46 that Jacob said unto his brethren, so remember, Laban has his family there, the other brothers and the whole family. And so Jacob speaks to the family and says, gather stones. And they took stones and made an heap, a whole big pile of stones. And they did eat there upon the heap. So get the picture. There's a memorial stone that's set like a pillar, and then a heap of stones. And that takes work, obviously, men carrying these big stones, so that for time to come, when anybody would go by there, they would know that this was a special monument. This is a pillar. A stone is not something that's going to rot. It's not like a piece of wood. It's not like some kind of a structure that can fall over. No, it's a heap of stones that you can see for generations to come. And that's the idea. The idea is that this would serve as a reminder of the decision that's made. It's important in our own life that we memorialize our decisions. That's why we do things like wear a wedding ring. Why? Because it memorializes outwardly a very important decision we make at a point in our life. So that's what's happening here. And it says in verse 47 that Laban called it Jigar Sahadutha or Sahadutha, which is in Aramaic. Aram is Syrian. It's a Syrian language. That's the name in Aramaic. But Jacob called it Galid, which is Hebrew. So it means the same thing. It means a heap of stones, a heap of witness is what it literally means. So they're both saying the same thing. They're both saying that this is going to be a witness, this is going to be this heap of stones, but they're saying it in their own respective language. And that in itself is really kind of a harbinger of the fact that they're going to be in different places, speaking different languages, somewhat of a different culture, and that they can agree that this is a place of agreement. Look at verse 48. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Galid, which means heap of witness. Verse 49, and Mitzpah. So Mitzpah means watch. And the idea is that God is watching. The idea is that this is a heap of stones and inanimate objects, but it represents a seeing God, a God that is the ultimate arbiter, the ultimate source of agreement between these two men. And it says, and Mitzpah, for he said, the Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another. So we use that term mitzpah today to make nice little necklaces, and a girlfriend gives a boyfriend mitzpah, like, oh, the Lord watch between me and thee, and my heart is always with you, and it's really nice and romantic, but that's really not what it means. So if you have that necklace, I'm sorry. What this means is you better watch out, because God's going to hold you accountable for the decision that you're making. God is watching. When we were back in Bible college back in the day, toward the end of the semester, of course, you'd go home and you'd pack up your stuff. And my wife would pack her stuff up in these boxes. And on top of the box, she'd put her name. And then she'd write in big letters, God is watching. I said, why do you put that on the box? She said, well, so no one will steal. When I leave the box here, no one will go in it and take anything because God is watching. That's what mitzvah means here. God is watching. And it says in verse 50, if thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. Yeah, you can do what you want. You're going to be out of my sight, but God will be watching. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. So in a sense, Laban is expressing a bit of faith here, isn't he? To say, okay, God spoke to me about what not to do and not to overtake you and not to stop you. And so let's ask that God to watch over both of us and hold us accountable for the decision we are mutually making to each other and with each other. That's a really, really good lesson on accountability. Verse 51, and Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, behold this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. So let this halfway point, let this pillar be a representation that if I ever want to get vengeance against you or take advantage of you, a family member, that this heap would remind me, I don't go past this heap for harm. This is a non-aggression pact between you and between me. It's a peace treaty. Now, the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, that was Abraham's brother, the God of their father, that would be Terah, judge betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father, Isaac. So they made this agreement. And they made this agreement in front of the God that they both claimed to believe in, that they both claimed to follow, even though we already learned that Laban has some idolatrous tendencies. They're still in this moment understanding who God is and holding themselves accountable before the unseen God. And Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount. I love that. So Jacob makes it not only a place of agreement, but a place of worship. To worship the God that exists, to worship the God that sees, to worship the God that's real, to worship the God that protected him and that appeared in that dream to Laban. So Jacob sacrifices. He called his brethren to eat bread. They did eat bread and tarried all night in the mount. They made it a worshipful celebration. And early in the morning, Laban rose up, kissed his sons and his daughters, blessed them, and Laban departed and returned unto his place. A very human side of this. Grandpa says goodbye. Dad says goodbye. And for all intents and purposes, this is it. This will be the last time they'll ever see him. And so Laban's a complicated guy, isn't he? And yet we see little glimpses here of looking to God and making right decisions. And Jacob, little glimpses of how he's growing in maturity, growing in his own faith. Now, he's got a ways to go, and we're going to see some elements of fear yet in the next chapter. But wow, God is moving him every step of the way. So we'll stop right there in verse number 55. We'll come back to a brand new chapter next episode. Hope you'll join us for that. Until then, God bless you, my friends.